In the winter of 1959, a group of 9 young hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Russia set out on a skiing and hiking trip across the cold, snowy Ural Mountains. Their goal was to reach a mountain named Otorten, located in a remote area of Siberia. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. All of them were experienced hikers and skiers, and they had trained for such difficult journeys before. The group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, all in their 20s, except for one who was in his late 30s. They were full of energy and excitement, and they carefully planned the trip. The journey was supposed to help them gain a higher level of hiking certification, which was a great honor in the Soviet Union at that time. Before they left, they sent letters and postcards to their families and friends, telling them about their plans. None of them could have imagined that this would be the last time anyone would hear from them alive. The hikers began their journey in late January 1959. They traveled by train and then by truck to reach the last village before the mountains, a small place called Vizhai. From there, they started skiing toward the northern Ural Mountains. The weather was freezing cold, with temperatures dropping below 25 degrees, 13 degrees. At first, everything went smoothly. The group took photos, kept diaries, and seemed to be enjoying themselves. Their writings showed that they were tired but happy. One of the hikers, Yuri Yudin, became sick on the way and had to return home. This decision saved his life because he was the only one from the group who survived. The rest of the 9 continued on their journey, heading deeper into the snow-covered mountains. The group set up their final campsite on the slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl, which in the local Mansi language means Dead Mountain. On the night of February 1, 1959, something terrible happened. No one knows exactly what it was. When the hikers did not return home by the expected date, their families became worried. A search team was sent out a few weeks later. It was very hard to find anything in the deep snow, but eventually, on February 26th, the rescuers discovered the campsite. What they found shocked everyone. The hikers' tent was found half buried in the snow. It had been cut open from the inside, as if the hikers had slashed their way out in a hurry. Inside, rescuers found all their clothes, shoes, and belongings neatly arranged. There was food, cameras, and warm coats, but no people. Outside the tent, there were bare footprints leading down the slope toward the forest. The prints showed that some of the hikers were barefoot or only wearing socks, even though it was freezing cold. The rescuers followed the tracks and soon found the first 2 bodies. About a kilometer from the tent, under a tall cedar tree at the edge of the forest, the rescuers found the bodies of 2 men, Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonishenko. They were barefoot and dressed only in underwear, and it looked like they had tried to build a small fire from broken tree branches. Their hands were badly burned, perhaps from trying to stay warm. The branches of the tree above them were broken, as if one of them had tried to climb it, maybe to look for the tent or to escape from something. Between the tree and the tent, rescuers found 3 more bodies, those of Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin. They were all lying in the snow, facing the direction of the tent, as if they had been trying to crawl back to it before dying from the cold. So far, 5 bodies had been found, but 4 were still missing. It took the searchers 2 more months to find the other 4 bodies. They were discovered in a ravine, about 75 meters, around 250 feet, further into the forest. These bodies were buried under several feet of snow. Unlike the first group, these hikers were better dressed, wearing parts of the others' clothing. It seemed they had taken clothes from their dead friends to stay warm. But what truly shocked investigators were the injuries on these 4 bodies. Lyudmila Dubinina had no tongue, no eyes. and some of her facial tissue was missing. Nikolai Thibault Brignol had a severe skull fracture. Semyon Zolotaryov and Alexander Kolovatov had broken ribs and serious internal injuries. Strangely, there were no signs of struggle or wounds on the outside of their bodies that would normally cause such injuries. It looked as if they had been hit by a powerful force, something strong enough to break bones, but without leaving bruises. The Soviet government quickly opened an investigation, but the case only became more mysterious. The official cause of death for most of the hikers was hypothermia, meaning they froze to death. But for those with strange injuries, investigators wrote that they had died from a powerful unknown force. There were no signs of another person or animal attack. There were also no footprints from strangers near the tent, only the hikers' own. Some of the hikers' clothes contained traces of radiation, which added to the mystery. No one knew where it came from. The government eventually closed the case, saying the deaths were caused by an unknown natural force, and the files were classified as secret for many years. Over time, people came up with many theories to explain what happened that night at Dyatlov Pass. The most widely accepted modern theory is that the group was hit by a small avalanche. Maybe they heard or felt snow starting to slide toward their tent. In panic, they cut their way out of the tent and ran into the night to escape without putting on proper clothes. In the dark and freezing weather, they got lost and couldn't find their way back. Some died from the cold, and others were injured when falling into the ravine. This theory explains why they left the tent so suddenly, but some experts say the slope was not steep enough for an avalanche. Others argue that a small, hard-to-detect type of snow collapse, called a slab avalanche, could have happened. In 2019 and 2020, new Russian investigations supported the avalanche idea. Scientists even used computer models, including ones inspired by the movie Frozen, to show how snow slabs could move silently and with great force, matching the injuries found on the bodies. Some people think the hikers might have been caught in secret military tests. In the 1950s, the Soviet Union often tested weapons and rockets in remote areas like Siberia. There are reports that bright orange lights were seen in the sky around that time. Maybe the hikers saw something they weren't supposed to see. Or maybe an explosion or shockwave scared them from the tent. This could also explain the radiation on their clothes. However, there is no solid proof of military involvement, and the government never confirmed any testing near that area. Another theory suggested that the local Mansi people, an indigenous group living in the area, might have attacked the hikers for entering sacred land. But investigators found no signs of a fight and no other footprints, so this idea was quickly dismissed. The Mansi community actually helped with the search and were not considered suspects. Some scientists have suggested a strange natural phenomenon called infrasound, a low-frequency sound that can't be heard by human ears but can cause feelings of fear, panic, and confusion. Strong winds blowing around the mountains could have created these vibrations. The hikers might have felt terrified for no clear reason and ran away in panic, later dying of the cold. This theory is interesting, but still unproven. Because of the strange details and lack of clear answers, some people believe in supernatural explanations, such as UFOs, aliens, or strange energy forces. Witnesses reported glowing lights in the sky that night, which added fuel to these stories. However, scientists have not found any real evidence of aliens or otherworldly forces in this case. Another idea is that something went wrong inside the group. Maybe they argued, or someone had a mental breakdown caused by stress, fear, or altitude sickness. This could have led them to flee the tent or hurt each other accidentally. But again, there were no signs of fighting or defensive wounds. The group had been close friends, and their diaries showed good teamwork and laughter until the end. later investigations, and renewed interest. For decades, the Dyatlov Pass case stayed a mystery. People could only guess what really happened. The official files were kept secret until the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union. When the documents were finally made public, interest in the story exploded. Writers, filmmakers, and journalists began studying the case again. Books and documentaries were made, each offering new ideas and trying to solve the puzzle. The incident became one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in the world, sometimes compared to the Bermuda Triangle or Roswell UFO incident. In 2019, Russian officials reopened the case, hoping to finally settle the debate. After studying the evidence again, they concluded that an avalanche or snow slab was the most likely cause. In 2020, they officially stated that the hikers had been forced out of their tent by natural forces and died from hypothermia and injuries caused by falling snow. Still, not everyone agrees. Many experts and family members believe there is more to the story, saying that some details remain unexplained, like the radiation, the strange injuries, and the missing tongue. Today, the place where the tragedy happened is known as Dyatlov Pass, named after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. Each year, hikers and researchers visit the area to pay tribute to the 9 who lost their lives there. The story of the Dyatlov Pass incident has become part of Russian history and world mystery culture. It reminds people how powerful and unpredictable nature can be, and how quickly a calm adventure can turn into a fight for survival. It also shows the bravery and unity of the group. Even in their final moments, they tried to help each other and stay alive in one of the harshest places on Earth. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass mystery continues to capture people's imagination. It is a story of courage, confusion, fear, and unanswered questions, a frozen secret of Siberia that may never be fully solved.